So today will be just kind of another chill day. It's kind of a normal work week for me. Just been working on server stuff and things like that. So I don't have any super cool stuff on the agenda. Oh, whoa, there's some people coming in now. So anyone have any topics you'd like to talk about, or problems you're running into, or modding questions, or anything like that? We can just do the normal Q&A type stuff. There's a few things I can show that I've been working on, but nothing crazy exciting. All right, what's this? Rickroll? What? So scary. Ooh, scary wizard at the end. That's awesome. One second. Oh no. All right, boss battle time, I guess. Oh no, there's rabbit pieces falling from the ceiling. That's awesome. There's that, like, I know there's that fanfare sound, like, do. I put that in there, and then I don't think I ever used it in the game, so I'm happy to see it got used here. But that's awesome. Awesome little little single player fun thing there. Cool, cool. Uh, okay, so wonder what would happen if you lasso it. Is this pass away? Like if I die? Like if I get hit by a truck? Is that the question? Um, I've actually talked about this like with friends and family and stuff like that. So if I were to get hit by a truck, I think my brother or somebody like that would probably inherit everything and hopefully just either keep it running or release it as all as open source or something like that. So, um, Bomb Squad would live on in some way. At least that's the plan. Unless like me and my brother and like everyone who knows all about the stuff like got hit by trucks the same day. But hopefully that won't happen. um, but yeah, hopefully I will be around for many, many more years, continuing to work on this stuff. And at some point, maybe enough of it'll be open sourced, or maybe I'll hire some people at some point to help manage servers and things, and so I can kind of like spread the knowledge and so it can live on after me. That's part of the reason of open sourcing stuff too, is just kind of like, I know it's not 100% open sourced, and like the server stuff is not open sourced, but it's still cool to work on something that hopefully other people would be able to keep running or still enjoy after I'm gone. But again, hopefully I won't be gone for a long time. Yeah, I was thinking at some point I was thinking of setting up like a dead man's switch. Have you heard that? It's like something that's like triggered to happen if you don't like press a button once every day. So like if you die, then it just like automatically happens. So I was thinking like it could be cool to just like set something up that would just like open source all the server stuff or something like that if I don't reset it once per week or something like that. But then I'd totally just like forget to reset it, and then all the server stuff would be open source, and then it would just be chaos. I mean, hopefully it would be okay, but still. So yeah, so if you just joined, today is one of those kind of free days. I don't have any specific topics. I can kind of show what I've been working on a little bit. Um, so maybe I'll do that real quick. I'll just kind of like, it's a little bit kind of dry technical stuff, but maybe it's interesting to some folks. So the big thing I did this week, I'm still working on like server stuff mainly, so there's not a whole lot to see on the client side and the Bomb Squad app. But one kind of cool thing is, if you're a Linux guy or a Mac guy or a Windows guy, and you're um, able to like compile the game yourself. So for instance, like the normal way to do that in the normal repo is just to like make cmake. And so this will basically go through cmake, make the build of the game, and then run it. And what this is doing is basically, so this is just making like a standalone binary. But the new cool thing as of this week is that you can compile the game totally as just Python modules, basically. So Python has this idea of like binary modules. So normal Python modules are just like scripts. We all know what that looks like, just whatever foo.py. But Python can also load things that are basically plugins, things that are like written in C++, like low-level stuff. So what I did this week is I got the game working as a plugin for Python, basically, like a binary module. So if you do make cmake modular, this will now basically compile the game just as Python modules and then like run it through normal Python. So that this is the game running, but this is just, if you look down here, this is actually just Python. So it's not actually like a game binary anymore. It's just like Python, but it's running the game. So that's kind of neat from like a technical standpoint. You can see what I did here. So if we go in and just open this directory, so this is what it exists as in like modular form. So it looks pretty normal. So there's still like the binary here, but all the binary is in this case, if I drag it into a text editor, you see all this is like a little shell script, which is basically setting a few environment variables and then running Python. It's saying like, hey, Python, run my bomb squad stuff. And like all the engine and all the guts of it just exist under badata. And then there's Python dilib. And then so there's these just .so, which is shared object files for Linux, or in the Mac in this case. So there's a little magic happening to basically tell Python that all these things are files when actually they all exist as just one file. But anyway, it's kind of neat to see. So like this could open up some neat possibilities. Like we could, you could plug it into more things that, like different versions of the Python binary, or like Python debuggers and things like that normally work with the standard Python library. That means we could probably start to like use debuggers and stuff. So that's something I want to play with and maybe give a demo of or something. But so anyway, it's kind of an exciting little option now anyway. I might start distributing some versions of the app, like maybe the server version, like in this form, to where it's not like this compiled binary. It's just this little script and these like .so files, just because that might make it easier to use under like different flavors of Linux and things like that. I know some people have run into problems where it's like, there's like the Ballistica kit library, but it's linking to some like Python.3.11.1. whatever, particular like SO files that don't exist on some versions of Linux or something. So something like this might be a little more like robust or foolproof, because basically as long as Python 3.11 exists, this should work. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's one of the things I've been up to this week, is just kind of getting that working, the kind of more pure Python version of the game. I'll probably be using that on a lot of like the servers and things like that for squads mode. They'll probably be running the pure Python version. So free days is best. Free days can be good. Like I feel like sometimes free days, like there's really good topics and people have good questions and it's interesting. Sometimes there's free days where it's like, meh, whatever. We're just, Roadmap Seagull shows up a lot. One question: more animal-themed characters. Yes, I know I've mentioned this before, but yeah, whenever anyone asks for like characters, I feel like it's always animals. Like people want particular animals. I get like so many. I think the bear was the first one I added, just because I got so many like requests for like, will you add a bear? Oh yeah, I know. Going into all this detail about like .so files and this and that, I know that's probably not. If you're just like modding the game and messing with Python code, or even just playing the game, like that stuff probably makes no sense to you. So I apologize, but hopefully it makes sense to some people. It's tricky to like have topics that kind of are interesting to everyone. So hopefully, I'll try not to do too many like ultra technical topics or vice versa. Ran out of ideas here to talk about. Check Bomb Squad content on YouTube. Yeah, I should do that. I mean, I know there's like a ton of Bomb Squad videos and content out there, and I feel like I'm probably out of the loop in terms of like the stuff people are making or doing with stuff. So that probably would be a good idea. Yes, this is, oh yeah, a Halloween character. This is definitely like, that would be, I've been wanting to do that. Like, so that's why I need to get 1.8 done so I can do more custom characters and things. Like that would be great. Like, I mean, there's so many options at Halloween, I mean, that's what Halloween is all about, is just like, there's all the standard Halloween kind of characters, or Dracula or Frankenstein, or, any sort of like monster. Like that should totally be a thing, just like a yearly Halloween character or something. So yeah, so there is a bug right now where, yeah, if you're in Ballistica, if you're on your Ballistic account, actually, do I have? Oh no, right now my account is only email password. um, I usually test it with like my Google Play account, and then I'll like disconnect it and connect it. But yeah, if you're playing with a Google Play account and you come under here for account settings, um, and then like it'll show your Google Play name, and then if you change your Google Play name, it won't update here apparently. So I need to look into that. That might be a bug on my end. Um, Normally, it's expected that it only updates like when you sign in or sign out of the game, because that's the only time that it actually like talks to Google and like asks Google like, "Hey, what's this person's account name?" Um, but right now, it sounds like it might be broken to where like if you sign in and sign out, or sign out and then sign back in, it's not updating. So it should be updating then. Um, at the same point though, like your actual Google Play account name, like that doesn't show up in the game anymore as a V2 account. Like the only thing people see is your tag. So, whatever your custom tag is, that's the only thing that other people should be seeing. They won't see your Google Play name. Um, it tries to give you a tag that's based on your Google Play name, like when you first sign in, because it tries to keep them in sync. But that's not always possible because tags are like globally unique. So if you have a Google Play name that somebody else already has the tag for, like it'll give you like a 2 after it or something like that. Um, so your tag is, as I said, your tag, even though it's usually based on your Google Play name when you first sign in, it's independent. So if you change your Google Play name later, it won't affect your tag. Like once you have a tag, like that tag stays the same unless you change it in the Ballistica settings. Um, that being said, I would like to fix that bug though, so that your updated name shows up correctly in the account settings here, just for completeness. Ooh, roadmap Seagull. What did I miss? 1.8 coming soon. Oh, is that what triggered roadmap Seagull? I feel like that's somewhat of like a fair question, because like the roadmap doesn't have dates, I don't think, or does it? It just has like in progress. Um, but yeah, I don't. I mean, my standard answer for dates is like I really don't know. I can give like ballpark figures of like how much of 1.8 is done, and I would say it's like half done, or maybe a little over half done. Like probably the biggest part of 1.8 was all the refactoring that was done for 1.7.20. That was kind of like making a big mess and moving things around and doing all this like surgery on the game to make the 1.8 stuff possible. Now I just have to like finish the 1.8 stuff. Uh, but if you look at, historically, we can look back a few years. It's like each point version has been basically about a year. So like 1.5, well, 1.5 might have been more than that because that was a huge amount of work. 1.6 was about a year. 1.7 was, I think, about a year. So we're about half a year into 1.8, I think. So, maybe we're still on schedule for that. How did you get inspired by Kronk? Kronk is like basically Conan. Like I love the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of Conan. That was like one of my favorite movies. So Kronk is just like he's a slightly modified, Conan the Barbarian, Arnold Schwarzenegger looking dude. Like growing up, like I was just like, that was like my language. Like me and my friends, we just like make Arnold noises at each other, when we're, to express any sort of emotion. Like, "Ah!" you know. So if someone deletes a V2 account, what happens to the AID? The AID is never reused. So if you have a low AID, you know, sell your account or something. Don't delete it. It could be valuable someday. Hopefully I won't get in trouble for saying this, but before before I released Bomb Squad officially, like Kronk, when it was just for my friends, like Kronk was actually like Arnold Conan sound effects and stuff. So I had to like record them as me doing my, you know, a good impression of that. But it's no longer Arnold. It's just like a kind of a parody, a fully legal, hopefully parody. Potato. Yeah. Why is there FPS limit of 60 on Windows? Because I need to fix that. It's really not. I mean, I just need to like expose a like. It's just a hard coded number in the source code right now. So I need to just expose a control for that, or write some code to make that automatically figure out what your monitor is running. Like that would be the best thing probably. At some point, I want to do. Like it is overdue for some like a rewrite on the graphics settings stuff. Like this little window, if you go in and look at the Python code for this is very like ugly Python code. It's very like hard coded and just not very flexible. I want to do something where it's like, yeah, just make it easier to like add new options here. So like we could add like frame rate control stuff. So then, you know, poor people would stop being stuck at 60 FPS. The game is not limited to 60 FPS. You can see here, this is actually a bug. My monitor here is 60 FPS, but it says it's running at 120 right now. So I think it is actually running at 120 under the hood. It's just only showing 60 of those. That's just like, that's a bug in the Mac version because like one of my monitors is running 120 and the other is running 60. And I think it syncs to the wrong monitor. But anyway, yeah, there's no reason that it should be limited to 60 on Windows. I need to expose a control for that. But like I said, I should make it just, the best thing to do would be to figure out what the monitor is, you know, doing and just sync with that automatically. You know, maybe like vertical sync stuff or whatever. Just something, I feel like stuff is always best when it just works like out of the box, you know, so. But right now, if you're a Windows person and you want to hack that or want to like fix that, if you can get to the point where you can compile the Windows version, you know, follow along the GitHub stuff, it's pretty easy to find that 60 in the code and change it. I did that a few episodes back, just kind of showed people how to do that. But yeah, on phones, like on Android phones, it should sync with the frame rate of the phone. So if you're running like a 120 hertz Android phone, it should be in 120. Let me know if that's ever not the case, but I believe it should be. New graphic settings in 1.8. I would like that, but it's not like on my to-do list. It's more just like whenever I get to that. It's more like I want to just build a system for doing like generalized settings though. Just something where it's, you know, you don't have, where it's not like hard coded like that, where everything is like put in a specific place. I just want to be able to have like add this setting and it'll like show up in a list that you can edit, you know, just so it's a little bit more automated. And then if, at some point I should write other renderers, like a metal renderer for Apple operating systems, or you know, a Vulkan renderer probably would be better. Like right now, OpenGL is basically the only thing we have. The rendering stuff is pretty abstracted though, to where we should be able to make like a Vulkan renderer, or you know, Direct 3D or whatever it's called, Direct 3D 11, 12, whatever the latest version of that is. Or metal, or you know, whatever else comes along. So in those cases, like it might be good to be able to like easily have different graphics settings depending on the renderer. Or what I'd love, like in the future, is to, you know, I've mentioned this before, is like be cool to have like a super high end renderer that's like ray tracing or something, you know, that would have its own set of settings. So anyway, I'm just trying to think of like, it would make sense to be able to easily be able to change those settings. So that's why I want to like rewrite that. But it's not like a 1.8 to-do list item. It could be after 2.0 for all I know. Or if someone feels ambitious and you want to like, you know, help tinker around with that, you know, give me a holler. Got a question. When you're creating characters in real life, what material were you using? Plasticine? Yes, plasticine, like the oil-based clay. So the yeah, I'm always showing these, but yeah, like here's Bernard the bear. So you can see he's just like plasticine. This is still like soft clay, so it didn't harden. I could smash him and recycle another character out of him. But yeah, that's basically what I've always been using for characters. The one change, I mentioned this before, is that originally I was using colored clay, and I kind of changed into just using gray clay for everything and then doing all the coloring in Photoshop. Because the game has to be able to like color the characters differently anyway, so they basically need to be gray anyway. And coloring things in Photoshop is really easy, so I find it just gives like better control for stuff like that. And it looks pretty real. You can't tell too much that it's not actually colored clay. And also with colored clay, it's so easy to like mess up and smear the colors together, and then it just starts looking like ugly. Have your phone set to adaptive refresh rate? I do. Of course, my main phone is an iPhone actually, even though which makes no sense. The game is basically Android only right now, and I'm an iPhone guy. But I own more Android phones than I own iPhones. Do we drop the tease of the video straight text was supposed to finish? Is this the tease? I think it is. Or I might know what that tease is. I might not. I'll let you all like drop the tease whenever you want, if it is the thing I'm thinking, but maybe it's not. If Bomb Squad is going to be available on Steam for PC, yeah, if Bomb Squad is on Steam, I will just post updates to Steam, and Steam will do its update thing. So, yeah, I apologize right now. Anyone doing like PC test builds has to manually update. That sucks. Yeah, I fully intend for most people will play the game through the Steam build, which will update itself. So, yeah, if I knew that it was going to be so long where people would just be using test builds, I would have added like an auto updater or something. But I think that's the way Google Play handles that for most Android people, Steam will handle that for most PC people. So even though a lot of people are using test builds right now, the eventual goal is that everyone should be using like official store builds. So basically all the stores will all handle the updating. Burr, 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 burr. How did you know about the KTX images? Is that referring to something? Is there a guide somewhere for changing 60 FPS limit on Windows? Not really a guide. It was just, like I said, it was mentioned a few weeks ago, or several shows back. I don't know if someone could post the link. Here, I can just dive in and show you where that lives. So basically, if you would, go to Ballistica, GitHub. I know it's a little bit tedious because you have to like install Visual Studio and build the game yourself, which sucks. But under the wiki here, there should be getting started little snippets about basically building the PC version. Or yeah, native layer. Like this kind of goes into like how to build with Visual Studio, getting a version of the game, building a version of the game yourself. And then if you can get that working, the bit in the source code, let's see, it would just be under source. Let's be test for myself. Source base, because it's like graphics engine stuff, which all lives under base. Graphics, maybe graphics server? Let's check graphics server. And let's just search for 60. Oh yeah, here it is. So this is for janky old non-event push mode, which applies to Windows right now, unfortunately. So see, what this does is this just sets up a timer, which runs, this 1000 milliseconds are in a second. So 1 second divided by 60. So it runs 60 times per second, and it says render a frame. So the janky way to change this is change 60 over here to 120 or whatever your monitor runs at, or whatever you want the game to run at. and then recompile the game. So let's, just to test this theory, if I do make CMake, if you do make CMake on Mac, that's running that same logic, so that's that same build. And you can see, unlike the other build I was running, which was like the native Mac one, this one is running at 60 frames per second. So to change this, we could come in here and I'm just going to turn it down. Let's do ridiculous. Let's do 10 frames per second. Make CMake. And there we go. Lovely 10 frames per second. So yeah, that is the fallback frame rate is just hard-coded 60, which is unfortunately what Windows is using right now. One sec. I'll rebuild this so I don't like forget and wonder why my game is choppy. Okay, back to 60. Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, you can run an Android emulator and play the game to get the full refresh rate. Oh. But yeah, that is true. A lot of it's interesting, a lot of the Android stores, oh man, I'm like so far out the list. A lot of the Android stores are starting to like advertise that, you know, they have like Google Play Store is available on Windows 11 or something like that. Has anyone run into that? Has anyone like running Android stuff on your Windows install, like just by having a store installed? Or like the Amazon store, they said they're starting to do like the Amazon store is available on Windows sometimes. Like, I'm curious, is that a widespread thing? Oh, it's still in beta? Okay. I mean, I guess that's fine, but like it might be interesting, like if that becomes widespread, that might be like the best way to get Bomb Squad on Windows at the moment. But I should, you know, hurry up on 2.0 and get the proper Steam build out there. Or I was thinking of maybe doing like a, you know, Steam Early Access before, just to start testing things. So I could do that maybe anytime, really. Okay, Windows subsystem for Android and Windows 11. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd be curious if anyone tries that. Like I don't have Windows 11, unfortunately. My PC is, you know, it's like 2016 era or something, and I can't even run Windows 11, which is a bummer. I guess I need to get a new PC at some point. So yeah, if anyone tries that, and you know, let me know how it works. I'm curious. My assumption is certain things like keyboard input might not be perfect, you know, because they're kind of janky and they were sort of designed for Android. It might not. Yeah, I'd have to see. I'm really curious. I mean, ideally, like Android will run on, you know, a diverse set of stuff. So ideally, you know, the Android version should work for anyone anywhere, but it might just not be like as slick as it could be. Added the socks. Explodinary logo. Icon ascot. There's something messy around the names. In the store.py, it's called Explodinary logo, which is not in the special characters. Okay, if is there still something messy in there, or is this like something people ran into with, you know, like modding stuff? Like do mods, you know, like maybe a mod that still has the old name or something? Because yeah, the Alibaba logo, which was for, you know, a particular version that got released on an Alibaba platform in China years ago, which I believe is dead. Yeah, I wound up replacing that with the Explodinary logo, just to so I didn't have to like add textures and redo all that stuff. But yeah, if it's causing problems anywhere, then we should fix that. Like anywhere, if there's still Alibaba logo in the code somewhere, like we should change that to Explodinary logo. So yeah, if you're seeing that in like the modern or the latest version of the code, like we should fix that. It's in the engine. Oh, okay. So it's still in the engine. Store.py. Mer. Okay, let me check that. Mer. Store.py. I don't see it. Is like down here. Maybe you're looking at a slightly older version or something, because there, yeah, it shouldn't be anywhere. Let me Alibaba. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I'm not seeing it show up here. There's like this one case where it's, yeah, sub-platform Alibaba, which is like that old version that, yeah, or the Taibo guy or whatever, the Taibao, I always forget the name. Syncs the monitor's hertz with some input delay. Okay, interesting. Huh. Yeah, I should get Windows 11 somewhere. Anyone have a Steam Deck? Does that run Windows 11? Or is that just, I know it's like Linux by default, right? But can you install Windows 11 on there? Anyone know? I'd love to make the game like work nicely out of the box, with Steam Deck. So I could see using that as an excuse to buy a Steam Deck just to make sure the game works well there. So if I could test on Windows 11 using that, then that would be a double excuse. I'm always looking for excuses to, buy toys that I probably shouldn't be buying. Standalone OSs that takes like standalone OSs that run Android. What like Prime OS? What is Prime OS? I'm not actually familiar with that. Prime OS. Android for PC. Oh, interesting. I mean, I would expect it to work on there. If there is input lag, though, that sucks. Like, I'd be curious if that's something that's my fault or if that's something that is, the Android subsystem's fault. I don't want the input lag. Are you planning to make Bomb Squad have better graphics, like improve it a bit? I would love to. I love graphics and stuff like that. It's not like at the top of the priority list, but yeah, especially like as 2.0 comes around, I'd love to like make a better graphics engine. There's part of me that's trying to convince myself to not do that because that could, or not do that soon at least. Like I'm trying to prioritize just getting squads mode and other platforms up and running, as opposed to adding features. But I would love to work on that at some point. As I mentioned earlier, it would be super fun to just make a super high-end renderer, like ray tracing only or something like that. Something ridiculous that, even though the models are very small and simple, it would still, look kind of cool. Like soft shadows and reflections and things like that. But yeah, would maybe adjust blurs and things like that. There's a few tweaks to like the graphics in general just to make the game look more or look better on like a very small screen like a phone that probably would need to be scaled down, playing it on a large screen. And so theoretically, and that is kind of the neat thing about Android is that it does run on a whole range of devices. So like that single version should be able to handle like PC and stuff. May just need to like tweak the UI size. Because yeah, like the UI scale is probably defaulting to like phone settings. But it should do everything. It should detect like, oh, I'm being run on a PC. I should do like PC size stuff, like smaller window elements and things like that. What ways do you have to stop players from using the kick system abusively? Yeah, this is a tricky one. I mean, this has been like in need of fixing for a long time, or in need of more customization. It's very hard coded right now, and my main answer is like I'm just trying to work towards the squad system, which will totally replace all of that. But at the same time, it would be cool for people to have more options or more control over the kick voting. So that's mostly something where like if you want to talk to me about improving that, I'd be happy to like guide people and help people and show like where to put code to add more like server options and things, or more kick vote options. But it's not something I'm going to be like devoting a ton of my own time to. So just because I want to get squads mode done, so I need to work on server stuff and squads mode mostly. When is Windows getting out of the test build? Yeah, that roadmap, Siegel. That's 2.0 is the plan for that. So we got 1.8 is coming up, and then 1.9 will be basically finishing squads mode, and then 2.0 will be multi-platform. That'll be kind of the focus of that, is like making squads mode the main mode and releasing on iOS and Steam. That's kind of the big things for 2.0. So it'll be kind of considered like a relaunch of the game in a way, where it's, or kind of like launching squads mode, I guess. All the classic mode stuff will still be in there. It'll just be squads mode at that point will be kind of like the main game. So that's why 1.9 will be all about making squads mode good. 1.8 hopefully will include like very basic squads mode soon, since that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to get like a little bit of squads mode working. But yeah, 2.0 will be about like multi-platform and squads mode. So it'll be, unfortunately, yeah, that means Windows people, you have to put up with test mode for a little while longer. But like I said, it could be nice to get like Steam Early Access going, just to make it easier for people to help test stuff. Bomb Squad first person. Yes, this gets asked a lot too. But yeah, that would probably require reworking the game significantly. I feel like you'd want to just like start from scratch or something. Because yeah, for one, yeah, I think first person from spaz from the characters as they exist right now would just be like ridiculous. It'd be just like going everywhere. And then for two, most of the maps are not actually designed to be seen from first person. So there's a lot of basically empty spots on the back sides of things that you'd see, and so like it would basically require reworking all the maps to look good in that situation. So, and I probably just want to use like an engine that's designed for first-person shooter games at that point. So it'd probably just be worth starting over. I mean, someone could hack it together and make it sort of work, but you'd have to like make special maps and things like that. I mean, to make like the minimum, you'd probably want to like do custom camera code, like a third-person view or something, I would think, to be a little bit more like sane. And then also, custom maps that looked decent from those kind of views. So it would be a bit of work. Maybe down the road, you never know. But you've tried it doesn't look great. Yeah, I would not expect it to look great. But yeah, if you hit F8, F7, I forgot the key to flip into manual camera mode. You can look at stuff from behind. And is that on? Oh, I guess this is the one. Yeah, you can see lots of missing stuff back here. smeary foregrounds and things like that. So yeah, the game was very much designed to look good from this angle and not from. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all right. It's just like, the textures are getting really ugly this close, and things like that. I feel like you'd really want to like design the textures and things to look good up close if you were doing first person. If anyone gets motion sick in games, this would be it. But yeah, manual camera is not flattering. It exposes all the hacks and the missing pieces and things like that. That's always how it is, though. I remember working in movies before. It's like there's so many shots in like a Pixar movie or any animated movie where everything is designed to look really nice, like in the camera. But if you actually looked at it from the side, like in a 3D editor, whatever, it's like totally a hack. Like there's a character whose arm is like stretched out like 10 feet to like be in front of the camera, but the head is like way back there in the scene. It's stuff like, it just looks ridiculous and broken if you actually look at what's really going on. But as long as it looks good from the camera view, like that's all that matters at the end of the day. Possible adjust the scale of chat messages during gameplay. Yes, this is another long-standing request to like tweak the chat messages because it does block stuff. Hopefully, I will use squads mode as an excuse to finally do that. Just get them, like in the corner or smaller or whatever looks good. Yeah, manual camera is, I mean, it's handy for, yeah, I mean, screenshots and stuff, but also, I just put it in there for like debugging models and, making sure things work and looking at things from different views. There's a thread about it? Cool. It would be interesting to see, like, just what it looks like. I'm just curious, like, how nightmarish, like, how queasy you get watching that. Maybe more characters? Where is it? Where is it? Roadmap. Seagull. Where are you, Roadmap Seagull? No. Um, but yeah, part of the plan for 1.8 is more characters. Because yeah, the biggest, oh, there we go. The kind of the big upcoming change in 1.8 is like downloadable assets, so that I can add maps and characters and things like that, and people will just download them instead of me having to like add them to the game and then push out updates. Because the problem with pushing out updates is like if there's maps or things like that that require certain models or whatever, and then people join the game with an or people join that game with like an older version of the game that doesn't have those models, then you get crashes. So it's like you got to be very careful with like making sure everyone has all the latest models before like you host a server using those models and things like that. So it's a big mess. As modders probably know, it's like no one can join your server unless they've installed those models or textures or whatever else. So I'm trying to improve that situation with 1.8 and make it so things will like download automatically. So it'll be more like a web browser where your server just has stuff and it gets downloaded by people connecting in most cases. Hope there will not be a more expensive character than Taiwan mascot. I don't plan on making like ultra expensive characters. In fact, part of my, I'll post like the monetization update, like the squads mode. When you play in squads mode, it's going to have totally like different monetization and things like that. So the plan is that you'll earn tickets and things like that basically through playing competitive matches, or tournaments or whatever. But the idea is that everything you unlock in that mode will be purely from stuff that you've from tickets or whatever that you've earned through gameplay. So therefore, I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm encouraged to have like ultra expensive things to get people to like pay real money and stuff. I feel like it's always kind of crappy when games do that. So I don't plan on having. I mean, maybe there'll be like it could be fun to have some ultra expensive thing that you have to like grind for a long time to get, but I want it to be based on grinding, like a reasonable amount of grinding, and that stuff like there won't be a way to just like buy those characters directly. You'll just like have to earn them through gameplay. But anyway, this will be coming up. I'll be explaining my plan for all this stuff. Trying to come up with like something that works well and lets me make enough money to keep my servers running and all that stuff. But something that doesn't feel too sleazy. All right. Oh, first person bomb squad. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be worth checking out. BS comp? What? Adding more co-op. At a high level, like what I'm working on is, oh wow, let's see this. All right, I'll get back to that. Return to that thought in a moment. Oh, okay, so it's third person. Oh my gosh. Oh, getting queasy. So you could almost, yeah, I mean, clearly that's not great. It's almost interesting. Like, I feel like you'd really need to do some like custom camera stuff so that the camera would like avoid those walls and also not be quite so like loopy looking. Huh. Well, that could be fun to like, play around with that idea later. The first person one in Bomb Squad VR. Oh my gosh, I feel like you'd get so sick. That's always the rule in VR. I mean, the VR coding I've done is like don't, try not to move the camera without, or try not to move the camera like on its own when possible. Like some people are okay with VR stuff, but the thing that makes most people queasy is like when the camera is moving around. So like when you're moving around in space in VR and it's not because like you're walking across your room. Like the best ones are just like where VR puts you in, or by best, I mean like the least queasy situations is like where you're able to just either teleport or just like walk around the VR space yourself. And then, because that way there's not like a mismatch between your head and like what you're feeling. I think that, because apparently that's what makes your brain feel queasy is like when your inner ear is not detecting, like your you are seeing like the world move around you, but your inner ear is not like detecting motion. So your brain is like, whoa, I'm something's wrong. I must have eaten some poison berries or something. So I'm gonna get queasy and throw up. I got to get rid of those poison berries. Um, so that's why in VR, like it's most games are encouraged to use teleportation, where it's like just instant, because that doesn't, for whatever reason, make people queasy. Um, but if you just like take a first-person shooter and turn it into VR, like a lot of people are gonna get queasy, or like a racing game, stuff like that, just because like your inner ear is not feeling what it should be feeling. But yeah, the normal VR version of Bomb Squad, if any of you have played that, it's basically the same. It's just like a tabletop game, It's just like you're in VR, but you're like looking down at the maps. So, which is kind of cool. It just feels like you're playing with action figures on your table. So it's just these little dudes running around your table, basically. But in that case, yeah, it's not generally moving the world around. So it's just like it's up to you to like move your head if you want to move around. That seems to be result in not too much queasiness. But anyway, oh yeah, what was I mentioning before? Oh, adding more co-op. So in what I'm wanting to do is why I'm working on squads mode and workspaces and things like that. My big goal is to get it to where people can share like co-op stuff they've made, or like stuff like Explodinary, make it really easy for people to share that with the world, or downloadable assets. Make it so that if you're writing cool mods, that everyone else can use your cool mods. Um, it's easier. Like right now, you have to install scripts manually, which is not terrible, but it's it takes a little bit of work and know-how. Especially like assets, you have to install textures and models manually and stuff like that. That eliminates most people from playing your mod, unfortunately. It's like ambitious people can play it, but not everyone else. So my big my overarching goal is to make it so that people can write co-op games and write mods and write all this other stuff, and everyone else can just play them. So that's yeah. I'd like to make some more co-op games and things myself, but I'd like to get it to a point where I'm competing with it's not just me; it's other people writing cool stuff. Um, so I want to a degree, I just want to be like the support guy and just like make it possible for everyone else to make cool stuff. Um, that being said, I do like writing mini games and things like that, and I haven't done that in a while, so I'd love to get back to that too. But but I want to put the rest of the world on an equal stage with myself. So like the tools I'm using to make mini games or to make models or to make textures or whatever, like I'd love for everyone to be able to use that instead of like my when I was first making the game. It's my totally just like hacky kind of particular workflow that I built for myself. So I just want it to be kind of more available to everyone. One second, I'm realizing so I usually have my laptop monitor down here, and then my separate monitor up here. And in past few streams, I've been like covering my laptop monitor because it turns out I think like when I'm talking loudly, I like spit on my laptop monitor, or not like spit on it, but like it gets like a little bit of just like like dots on it. So I think it's just from talking loudly. So I've been covering it up, but I totally forgot to this time. So one second, I'm covering my laptop monitor here. There's your TMI for the day. So what's this good? Oh, Matt. Okay, I missed this. Wearing a hat and it can fall on everything when you get. That could be cool, like a hat that falls off. I mean, I remember I always thought it was cool. There was one arcade game that I remember playing growing up, Golden Axe. Has anyone? There's probably newer Golden Axe games, but Golden Axe was just like a sword, slasher fighter side scroll sort of thing. Um, and I thought what was super cool about that game is like when you killed an orc or whatever that you're fighting, or a goblin, or whatever fantasy creature you're fighting, like when they die, their bodies would stay on the screen. So I don't know, something about that just seemed cool as a kid. It's like, oh, that's so like brutal and realistic. But it was also like it's a side scroller, so you're kind of continuing onward, and eventually those things go off the screen. If it were, if you were playing like an hour-long game and every dead body stayed around, yeah, that would start to, or even things that like fell off of your body, that would start to like slow down the game at some point. You could always be smart about it and have it only like show the last 10 things that fell off or something. It's kind of like how explosion effects and particles and stuff like that, there's like a limit to how many it shows in the game. So if you have too many explosions go off, then there's like fewer particles from each new explosion, or like old ones will go away sometimes. So it tries to like limit the total amount of stuff so it doesn't like slow down, slower phones. Add some explodinary features to Bomb Squad. Yeah, I like all the big mods, explodinary and the other ones. They've got like so many cool things. I'd love to once I do, or hopefully get back to writing some mini games and updating spaz dynamics and whatever myself. Yeah, I'd love to kind of steal some of the best ideas from people, kind of update it. Oh, does that happen in Gang Beasts where stuff falls off and it just hangs around? That's interesting. How can I build Bomb Squad for Windows using Linux? So if you follow on the wiki page on GitHub, like the standard workflow actually uses, well, it uses WSL, which is like Linux for Windows, basically, if you don't know. But are you saying like you want to, like you're on a Linux machine and you want to build a Windows build? In that case, like if you don't, like the Windows builds right now go through Visual Studio, so I just have Visual Studio builds set up. I mean, you could probably wrangle a build using, like cross-compile it using, I forgot the name, there's like compilers, there's like Windows compilers that you can access from Linux. So that would be one way to do it. Still Alibaba logo here. VBase, mgen, enums.py. Oh, really? Oh, that's in mgen. Oh, okay. So this might be something different then, maybe. 1 second. I'm going to dig. Okay. So... Wait. Oh, no, this is in the Python. So assets, data. Python, base, mgen, enums.py. So you're saying Alibaba logo here? Is this in like a distributed version of the game, or is this something you built yourself? Contents. Or did I just make this change? No, this should be in 1.7.2.3 or one of the more recent ones. Got from GitHub. One second, I will check here. Where's this stuff live? Data. Python, base, mgen. Okay, now it should be. Yeah, if you're seeing that. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're seeing that on something, if you got something, built something from GitHub, try to just do like a make clean or, blow stuff away or redo it. If you can reproduce this, like if you grab a fresh, copy of the repo from GitHub and run a build and you see that showing up, let me know. Because then, yeah, I need to fix something. Oh, is this the big reveal that people found? So this was, I was informed that whenever I do test this on like my iPad, my iPhone and stuff like that. And so whenever I do that, I have it just basically upload a little test build, like not a really even functional test builds to my server. And then, my phone or my tablet will download it from there. And it was in what I thought was like a little hidden directory where people wouldn't see it. But it turns out there's a way for people to see that if you access it through HTTP instead of HTTPS. So people found my little iPhone version .ipa, and yeah, some folks were able to install it, which was impressive. So there are a few copies of the iPhone version out there. Even though it's not, it's very hacky and non-functional. It is, well, it's functional to a degree, but it's very like ugly looking. So I apologize if you've seen it. But yeah, there is a technically Bomb Squad on iOS is out there. Which makes me think, that's another thing where maybe like I could start doing like test flight versions on iOS just so like some people could test it. Um, but I also, I don't want to like build too much hype like too far in advance, because it's still going to be a little while before 2.0 is ready. So like I don't want people to be like banging down my door for like where I want to test the iOS version, too far in advance. I'm curious what the video will be, but yeah, it's there's some like it is the whole game. It is like the latest version of the game. I do keep testing it, but yeah, there's a few just like glaring, still missing things. For one, like the touchscreen controls aren't wired up right now, so you have to play with a remote or something else. And then for another, I don't think it even like uses the full screen of the phone. It's still like it's set in like super old school mode where it assumes like your phone is like iPhone 5, and so it uses like a small low res portion of your screen. So there's there's a little like to do list of things that I need to clean up before I release on iOS. And that's yeah. So anyone, if you come across this version, you will see some of them. It's sort of like the PC test builds where there's like Unicode characters are not working on PC test builds. There's little things like that. Ballistic engine from GitHub. Well, you have to be more specific in what you got from GitHub and how you built it and how you wound up with something wrong. Like you might have an old version. I mean, this changed recently on GitHub. So again, if you can show me a repro case like git clone, ballistica dot whatever, and then build, and then it's still wrong, then I can fix it. But this sounds like it's probably just like you have old data or something. But yeah, cosmetics and bomb customizing, all this stuff would be super cool. And this is what I do plan to do more of that type stuff for squads mode for like the new economy stuff is give more like or part of like the 1.8 stuff is more variations of characters like a character with a slightly custom paint job on his hat or just fun like custom stuff like that for people. I forked your GitHub, pulled it to my local. So that file, the stuff under mgen, for any, just as an FYI, like anytime you see mgen, this means like meta generated. So that means like that's a file that was created by when you run a build. So there's certain things where, so it's called like meta programming is where that's coming from. So if you go to source meta, like all the stuff under source meta, this is basically like meta code. So these are like Python scripts that are used to generate other Python scripts or C++ files or headers or things like that. So anywhere you see like mgen, so under like source, ballistica, base, mgen, like everything under here came from like a build. So you ran a build to create that stuff. Or there's similar stuff in Python. So if you go to source, assets, data, Python, like the BA base package. In this case, it's underscore mgen, but anything under underscore mgen came from, or should have come from a build. So mgen should not exist in, like if you go to the GitHub, let's see, let's go GitHub. Unless I broke something, unless there's something wrong in which I need to fix, like this stuff should not actually exist under GitHub. So if you go source, assets, data, Python, BA base. Yeah, you can see there's no mgen in here. So if you're seeing an mgen locally, it means you must have run a build which generated that mgen stuff. Oh, that was weird. I guess the last commit here was a broken commit. I was like, oh geez, it's broken, but like the repo itself is working. Okay, huh? But yeah, if you're seeing if you're seeing mgen, something under mgen has old data, or if you're seeing the Alibaba thing instead of the explodinary thing, then yeah, try a make clean or rebuild or whatever, or just blow that file away and then run another make. So yeah, give that a whirl. Because this enums, if you want to see what's coming from this enums.py, these are just a bunch of like Python enum values, and oh yeah, generated by batools.python enums module. So you can dig around and like see where these get built from, but it's I think they're coming from, yeah, if we trace this down, batools.python enums module. So we go to tools, batools. Let's track this down to Python enums module, see what this is doing. There we go. Here's a function called gen-enums. So this is generating this enums Python file for us. And basically what this is doing is it's opening, I think it's grabbing like enums from like the C++ code. Gen-enums. So who calls this? Oh, in file name. Oh, poo. So I guess this gets called from somewhere. I forgot where these enums come from. It's, I guess we can just look. I'll just look for these values. So all of these enums are coming from some C++ location. So let me just look for Google Play Games logo. That'll be a good one. So if we do a little search here. Oh, right, and yeah, it's named different. Okay, Google Play Games logo. Oh, okay, so yeah, it's probably coming from here. So types, Ballistica shared foundation types.h. So this is where all these, yeah, and you can see these are like tagged with this little special like BA export Python enum. The reason for this is basically so I can like declare like enum types here in the C++ code, and those will be available in Python. So it just like, it automatically does that little like enums.py magic. So you can see here, yeah, there's no Alibaba here. So if it's generating enums from this file, it should only have the explodinary logo. Yeah. So if you can come into like your shared foundation types.h, you should see explodinary logo and not Alibaba something something. So anyway, yeah, getting a little low level and nerdy again for a moment. I just want a skull scan for, oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah, I love, oh man. I do want to, I mean, again, this kind of goes back to my goal for the game, is like, I want people to make their own, to be able to make their own like achievements and stuff like that. So the basic plan I have is, I mentioned this before, but like you'll be able to code up leagues. That's my plan, is like for squads mode, people will be able to write scripts that will define like leagues. And within that league, you can have, different like matchmaking games or whatever. If you join that league, it might be like a high score based single player league like the existing ones, or it might be like multiplayer matchmaking type league. But then within that league, I'd love for there to be like custom achievements and things like that, or custom, maybe even like skins that you can unlock within that league or something, or maybe use those in other places or something. I don't know. We'll have to see, but yeah, I'd love to make it possible for people to define cool stuff like that. Like, oh, you've killed 1,000 bots in this, survival league. You get this cool achievement, or you get this cool skull cap, or whatever. If, well, A0 is my account. I mean, please don't upload the IPA to GitHub. I feel like the only thing it's going to do is make people angry at me. Since the game's not out yet, and that's a very ugly early version of it. But at the end of the day, it's not that much uglier than like the PC test build, which is already out. So, I don't want to. There's part of me thinks like it could be cool for like developing a little hype, but again, I don't want to like develop too much hype ahead of like too far ahead of the game actually coming out. So there was just up the chat here. There was someone did that first person test. So if you follow that, there's probably instructions there or some sample code. Somebody probably did that. So you could probably get it working if you're ambitious. There's not an official way to do it. There's not like an official way to make the camera do that, but anything's possible through the magic of hacking. Oh, yeah, there's not really like these Coffee with Eric. It's mostly just kind of, yeah, me interacting with folks, answering questions and showing what I'm working on. And sometimes we will play towards the end of uh, the end of the 2 hours, or it's kind of just free form. It's just yeah, Q&A and getting ideas from people, suggestions, feedback, etc. We don't really have, especially today there's not like a real set schedule or anything. It's largely like I try to carve out this time just to be around and hear what people are running into and interact with people. Originally, this started out as just like I carved out a few hours to be on the chat always, so that people could message me there. But it sort of evolved into this where I did like a demo online, and then people were like, "Oh, why don't we keep doing that?" Just like the screencast version. So it's just a little easier to show certain things than just chatting in the Discord channel. But yeah, open to suggestions too, or like we played some, we do play some fun mods and things. So if anyone has any mods they're working on and you want feedback on it or something, holler, and we can all jump into a server if you got a server going. Character style with cape. I would love to do a cape. The cape would I would just have to code that up. Like the tricky part with a cape would be making it not look broken. I mean, that's lots of games do fancy cloth physics and stuff now, so it's certainly possible. It would just be like, I mean, like there's the flag in the game. It's a very simple cloth simulation. I would just have to do something similar. It would just have to be a little bit more careful so that it wouldn't like go through the character and stuff like that. Um, but it would be cool. Like I'd love to make that an option for like that would open up some fun possibilities for unlocking character skins with capes. Seems it was an old version. Okay, cool. Prefab GUI release, yeah. Yeah, most stuff like that. I mean, it should, if you grab the latest Git, like when I'll go to my, so this is my repo, which is the public repo, which doesn't have all my extra junk in it. So I have to do git pull or whatever to grab the latest, and then just do make prefab GUI release. Like this is just going to build the, I guess it was already mostly built, but yeah, this should update any files that need updating. It should download any files that need downloading. Like those two commands themselves, like git pull and then make prefab GUI release, that should give you the latest and greatest version of the game running. If that doesn't, if that's broken for you, please let me know, because that should do the right thing. There'll be cases like if you don't have your environment set up, like if you're missing SDL or one of the libraries, that it needs, then it'll complain. But again, all this stuff is under on the wiki. Just go to the wiki on the Ballistica GitHub and then getting started. This just kind of goes through like preparing the few things you need, which is mostly like downloading, getting a few Python packages, just kind of getting a Python setup that has what it needs. And then it's a little bit more for, native layer overview. If you're actually like compiling the C++ code, you'll need just a few things. So not much, but you need to make sure like SDL is installed, or ogvorbis, it uses those libraries. But yeah, so that's what that is. Prefab GUI release. For anyone who doesn't know, the prefab builds are basically like fully compiled versions of the game. so it like downloads a precompiled version of the game, but then it like builds all the assets and stuff locally. So what that is useful for is like if you're hacking around on Python scripts here, or you want to do like code testing, it can be handy to like just download the repo, make some Python changes, and then like build that. So that's what the prefab stuff is for. In the prefab case, you don't need to compile the game yourself, so you don't need to like have GCC or any of that stuff installed. It'll just like assemble the Python scripts and use a precompiled binary with it. All right, so yeah, there's MyPy. But yeah, so you can do make prefab stuff, or there's also just like if you do make CMake will do the full like compiling the thing itself. So that's like the more advanced one. It's the same result in the end. You get a running copy of the game, but the prefab stuff will download the binary instead of building it. That's kind of the difference. How to attach flag to character like flag. And I'd be curious if you could do some hack to like I mean, the flag node is hard coded to like draw in that like standing up sort of way. You could go in there and like steal some of the code from the flag node and make your own custom version that like was sideways or something. You could hack together like a goofy cape that's like always blowing in the wind. Like that would be kind of funny. Like a Batman character and his cape is just like straight out the whole time. It's like he's just like standing in a hurricane. But yeah, if you want to mess with the flag code, it's source ballistica. That stuff is all gameplay, so that's under scene v1, I believe. Scene v1 node flagnode.cc. So if you come under flagnode.cc, there should be some code in here for like simulating the flag. Flag node. There's drawing the flag. Step. Somewhere. Oh, here, yeah. Update spring point. Like it's all this code down here where basically the flag is a bunch of like points with springs between them. It's just like this mesh of points, and it just simulates all that stuff. So this is the code that simulates the flag. Update flag mesh. Oh yeah, here it is. Like here you can see it's a big like two-way for loop. So where it's going like the flag is a grid, so it goes through like all the X positions and all the Y positions of the flag, and then updates their springs. So it's very just like done by hand. This is not like it's not using any like fancy physics simulator or anything like that. It's just spring values, like low-level math. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting though. If you want to see like how that sort of thing is done, just come check out flagnode.cc. You can come in here and like mess with the spring values and just get your flags to like explode. Or make like really droopy flags. Like that would be a fun little experiment. I'm actually curious. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Like this is a little mental tangent, but if you want to experiment with flags, okay, how can I quickly get into a flag situation? Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, there we go. 2 flags. And so now I'm going to come in here to flag node. Now let's look for stiffness. Aha. All right, I'm going to mess with stiffness. Let's make it 1/10 of what it is. Run make CMake to build the game. And whoop. Droopy flags. All right, let's go further. .04. All right, this is fun. All right, well. So that's cool. So anyway, there's a droopy flag. I need to go put this back, otherwise I'm going to forget and like release a build with droopy flags. 0.4, okay. Yeah, that could be an April Fool's update. That totally just droopy flags. Yes, I did discuss modular ballistica. So that is out there. There's still a thing or two I need to fix. I want to make it like modular ballistica currently doesn't read arguments, so you can't like pass it command line arguments to like set your plugin location and things like that. So I want to make it like 100% exactly the same as monolithic ballistica. But yeah, I basically went over that where right now if you do make CMake, this will build what's called monolithic ballistica, which is basically a single binary, a single executable binary that like within that binary it loads the Python library and it initializes Python, and then it runs your game. It kind of handles everything itself. Um, but the modular version is not. It just like works under an existing Python interpreter. So it's basically compiling the game into a .so file, like a shared library, and then it's just telling Python like, hey, load this module from this location, and then it'll load up the Ballistica library and then run the Ballistica game. So it's the same code running in the end, except in one case, Ballistica itself is controlling Python. In the other case, Python is controlling Ballistica. So, and you can get at those two different ones. Like right now, if you run make CMake, this is building the standalone binary. So you can see what it did here, like linking C++ executable Ballistica kit. And now if I do make CMake modular, see, this is going to look very similar. It's going to run some builds, launch the game. But in this case, you can see linking C++ shared library, ballisticakit.so. So this is just a shared library, like a plugin, a thing that Python can load. And so then it does things a little bit differently. It just uses a little shell script to tell Python to load this and run. But yeah, it's totally a different kind of thing. So as I said, the fun part of that will be that we can probably do more standard Python stuff. Like if you have a version of Python, like a Python runtime that has profiling turned on, or a debugger that works with the standard Python runtime or something like that, then we can start to use that with the game. So I'm pretty excited to see what we can come up with there. Yeah, I would say debugging is the biggest advantage. There might be advantages like it might be more portable. I'm kind of curious to find out that actually. So we open build CMake modular debugged staged. So you just wind up with this, it's a very similar setup. So you got all your data and then the Ballistica kit binary, except in this case, the binary is simply a shell script. So it's just like setting a few environment variables and then running Python. So this might be more flexible in that, as long as the shell can resolve Python 3.11 to something, it should work, I think. There are some cases before where people running Linux, like the monolithic version, it would be looking for a specific like Python 3.11 library, like with a specific name. And sometimes we'd get weird things where certain Linux distros didn't have that same name Python library or something like that. So like something built on Ubuntu wouldn't work somewhere else. So this might be more forgiving in that case. Though it's still like the SO files will still probably those will still probably be looking for like SDL libraries in certain places and stuff. So it might have similar problems, but I'm curious. I'm curious to see. So yeah, we'll see if it makes sense. Like I don't know if I should start distributing the Linux version as like this, or if it should continue to be the standalone binary. There's pluses and minuses to both. I guess I could put them both up on there, but that might confuse people. But yeah, debugging will be the biggest advantage, I think. And also just like the cleanliness factor, just knowing that like this functions as a Python module, like Ballistica functions as just, a set of Python modules. It's like, it makes me feel good. Prior to 1.7.20, it was very like hacky in terms of like initting Python and then like loading these things and then like setting these things. It was very much like this kind of spaghetti code to get the engine up and running. And there was no hope of it running in like a standalone Python interpreter. So So that was part of the 1.720 is to kind of like clean things up and separate them out into like distinct little Python modules that like behave as good citizens, and they can be loaded now, in a standard interpreter. So part of it was just for me, like for my sanity, keeping the code, or cleaning up the code. Small debugging demo. I'm hoping maybe I can do that next week. I haven't actually learned how to do that yet. Which actually goes into another point. Like I started kind of going down a rabbit hole this week of like, what do I want as my development environment going forwards? So normally, I've mentioned this before, where I use Emacs a lot, which if you don't know, Emacs is like this ancient editor that's been around since like the dawn of man. It was written in like the 70s or 80s or something like that originally. It's all written in Lisp, which is this crazy old language. So here's like my .emacs file. So it has all this crazy, this is what like Lisp code looks like. Lots of parentheses everywhere. Very, it's like functional programming, which is like a kind of a different like programming paradigm. I find it like I've never really learned Lisp all that well. So for me, I kind of struggle trying to, if I'm customizing the editor, trying to like write little functions, like it's kind of a pain for me. But it is like pretty powerful though too. It's like a powerful programming paradigm. But getting Emacs working, like making it work well with like modern Python and modern expectations for what an editor should be able to do, it is tricky. Like it requires a lot of like hacking config files and figuring things out. So I don't know. I was looking around, and also Emacs this week. It's actually not actually out yet, but version 9.0 is coming out. So it means like there's some stuff broke, and I need to refigure out things. And so I was kind of looking out at like, should I be switching to something more modern, like in terms of just like for my everyday coding? Because I have Emacs working pretty well. Like my Python stuff works well. It does like type checking and stuff like that. But it's like most of the world, I was looking at like what is popular. I also, PyCharm is a good editor too. It has a lot of like good deep Python introspection stuff. So I use this sometimes. It's very much like a modern IDE. But I was looking into stuff like Visual Studio Code, which I've never been a Visual Studio Code user, but a lot of people love Visual Studio Code because it's kind of in the middle where it's not like this heavyweight thing like PyCharm, but it's not, it feels a little bit more heavyweight than like Emacs, but it's all like JavaScript and TypeScript and stuff, and so I feel like I'd have an easier time kind of hacking around with it. So I don't know. I was thinking about maybe like trying to dive into VS Code for more stuff. So. But anyway, yeah, that kind of led me to like maybe I'll try to like get debugging working with VS Code, maybe. I know I asked this a few weeks ago, but what do you all code in? Like, is everyone have a favorite editor IDE? Are you PyCharm people, VS Code people, something else people, Notepad people, VS Code? Okay. And also that led me down another little path. While you answer. So I have like MyPy hooked up. Like MyPy has been awesome. I freaking love MyPy. But for anyone who doesn't know, MyPy does like type checking on Python. So we can add type annotations to stuff, and it'll just like find most bugs before you run the thing. So it's all wired up. So if we do like make MyPy, this will run MyPy checks on all the code base. But I was reading there's other like Python type checkers now. It's been a few years since MyPy came out, and so I was reading like VS Code has its own called Pyrite, which apparently compares pretty well to MyPy, but it's also like very integrated with VS Code to where it has, it sounds like it works really well with if you're typing, it'll just do like completions for you and show you everything that's available based on your type annotations and stuff like that. So that could be like the best of both worlds where. If it provides the benefits of MyPy, but it also like gives you a super interactive editing experience, like that would be super cool. So I might look into that and see if it would be possible to like do the same things we do with MyPy except with Pyrite, because then it might like we might be able to like hook it up with VS Code to just be like super type checky, interactive, awesome. You know, ideally, if you're like creating a spaz node at some point, you'd just be able to like, get an interactive drop down of all the attributes on the spaz node, and stuff like that, where it's just like that's the dream. so that's kind of a bit of the rabbit hole I've been going down, is like trying to figure out like where to take all the coding stuff in the future. So yeah, definitely taking a long look at VS Code, and all of its like MyPy type stuff for kind of interactive smart coding. Oh, Nano? Oh, cool. There's something nice about just like lightweight editors also. So even though like VS Code launches pretty fast, it seems pretty lightweight. It's like I still love my Emacs. I mean, even Emacs is like not super fast to launch, but it's pretty fast. So whenever I just want to like hack around in a quick text file or something, it's always there for me. Though the new version has this bug where it like freezes for 10 seconds when I close it. I gotta look into that. See, waiting. There, it's closed. Can you add Persian language in the PC version? So this is the biggest outstanding to-do list thing in the PC version is Unicode drawing. So it's in some versions. Like the Mac version has it. Merp. Oh, okay. I forgot I have like F9 will just like switch to gibberish. The whole reason for gibberish was just to like, so you can write UIs and then make sure that like everything in the UI is translated, or at least all the stuff that should be. So, if you come in here and kind of, yeah, it's kind of handy. But anyway, yeah, so you can see here, like this Mac version is able to show all the, Arabic characters, Chinese characters, stuff like that. The Android version can show like that, like the native Mac version. But right now, like the CMake versions, like the versions that are just using like raw SDL, which includes the Linux version and the Windows version. And if you build on the command line Mac version, like these don't have that capability. So you can see there's no Arabic here, no Chinese. Anything with like extended Unicode characters, it's not wired up yet there. So that is the biggest thing on the to-do list for the PC version, or all these versions, is to get them working with Unicode. Because then, like the Arabic language is already there, it's already defined. It's just not, we can't display it yet. So I need to do that. Or, like I said, if someone's ambitious and you feel like tinkering around with the C++ code and you're kind of familiar with Windows a little bit, feel free to give me a holler, and I can point you to where it needs to happen at. But I should just take a few days sometime and get that working myself, because yeah, I know that's very frustrating for any Arabic players or anyone using the PC version, all over the world. But yeah, do you guys have that too? Like people who use like Visual Studio or like a kind of a heavyweight editor, do you have like a lightweight editor that you use sometimes? Or do you use, like Visual Studio or something like that just to edit like random config files? Because for me, I definitely have the two different things. Like I will, like I'll bust out PyCharm like only for editing, project stuff. But then if I'm just editing a one-off Python file, I will go with, just Emacs because it launches faster. Option to add friends. So that will be, friends will be part of squads mode, basically. So squads mode is going to be like this entirely different, way to play the game, basically, where it's more like, Fortnite or something like that, where you go into the game, you invite a few friends to join your squad, and then you like play games with your squad. So as part of that, yeah, I expect there to be like a friends list or something where it's like, hey, like Doofushead is online, invite Doofushead to my squad, or send them an invite code or whatever. Probably maybe both options, but I expect to be some sort of like friends list thing where like you can see if your friends are online and just quickly like join a party with them. But yeah, 1.9 is where most of squads mode will be happening, but I am working on it right now. Technically, I would like to get like very, very basic bare bones squad mode in for 1.8. As I mentioned, I just want to start to get like that whole flow going to where like you join a squad, you play a cloud game, you get a reward. You know, it's like getting that system working, like basically that loop. Um, and as I mentioned too, like I'm hoping to do like the scriptable leagues that we can all like start making fun little leagues. At first, leagues will probably be limited to ridiculous simple gameplay, like text-based gameplay. That's why I was saying we should have a contest, like a text-based RPG league contest once that's ready. You know, so like you have to type your commands. Like, what do you want to do? Attack or use potion, or run away. You know, and then we can have like multiplayer combat with text mode people fighting each other. That would be super cool. But it'll be like, you know, the very first step into getting squads mode wired up. But, you know, you got to start somewhere. Check this long message. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Making a mod, some problem. Can't make a bomb. Create a prop or bomb and make them roll, not using velocity by making it roll. Just like... That's a lot to cover. It's basically, I mean, you probably want, if you want to get into like low-level physics stuff like that, like I would take a look at the C++ code, you know, like the nodes. So like with the low-level stuff there, it's if you come under Ballistica, Scene V1, node. So if you know, like all the gameplay stuff is made up these low-level things called nodes, which are wired together. And the nodes are all implemented in C++. So if you come down here to like the prop node, then you could kind of take a look at like this is what the prop node actually does. It's this C++ code, and here it's what is it doing here? This is that's the drawing code. Don't need to care about that. But you know, it's going in here. It's creating these different like rigid body types using like the rigid body simulator, and so there's a lot going on here. But you know, you could kind of start messing around with this and kind of playing with the rigid body code or the simulator code at a low level. And so everything that people are doing in Python, it's like exposed as like attributes or things like that. Like you'll see, here's the prop node. Like here's where it does that. This is kind of like where it defines like the prop node that is accessible in Python. And you see this is like how it defines attributes. So there's a Boolean attribute called isAreaOfInterest. There's a float array attribute called reflection scale. There's a Boolean attribute called flashing. You know, there's a few exposed here like velocity, position, stuff like that. So this is just like arbitrary stuff that the prop node makes available to Python. And then you can set those things on Python. So for certain things, you know, you'd probably need to create new attributes or even new node types and like expose the stuff that you need and then have that stuff affect the physics simulation. So it's, you know, there's a few different layers here. Like I said, this is the physics simulation layer, the C++ code. This is the stuff that the node exposes to Python. And then of course, all the code in Python just like manipulates this stuff. So you can see you kind of have to like break it into different pieces. So depending on what low level stuff you wanted to do, like you'd have to, you know, some people have done amazing stuff by just like hacking in Python and like abusing these attributes. But in most cases, you'd probably want to add new attributes and, you know, kind of create a cleaner interface for yourself. Of course, that opens up a lot of problems with like multiplayer, because if two people are running different copies of the game that have different sets of node attributes and things like that, like you'll get a crash because they won't agree. Like one copy of the game will be like, oh, hey, set my like foobar attribute on this prop node. And the other copy will be like, there's no such thing. Bleh. And it'll just crash. So, or give you a fatal error. Hopefully not like hard crash. But anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea how this stuff sort of works. So there's like the low level C++ layer, which is all these nodes. And then that exposes controls to the Python layer, which manipulates them. We're going to beat you to death in Bomb Squad this episode. Looking like probably not. And looks like we're getting close to the end of the time, under the normal 2-hour time. But we should next week. So if someone's got a cool mod that you're working on, or you just want to, you know, pick a random mod, we should maybe next week. Let's play a game. So thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm happy you all have enjoyed it. I was talking to someone this week. I was saying it's funny. I get messages from people saying like, "Oh, thank you, Bomb Squad was my childhood game," and it's so weird that it's been out for that long. It's like people have like grown up, so it's been people's like, they played it as a kid and now they're like off in college or something like that. So I still think of it as like, oh, I'm still working on it. It's not like an old game, but it is. I guess it has been out for quite a while. Please join flag corners into spaz body. This would be, sorry, there's been a few notes about flags here I've been kind of not ignoring, but skipping over a bit. But yeah, this would be an exercise for the user. If you did, you could like fuse, if you came into the flag node, you could kind of grab some of you could basically like copy that code, paste it into the spaz node, and then have it like follow his neck around instead of the flagpole. So you could totally hack like flags onto spazes. That would be very interesting. And then it wouldn't be too hard. It's basically I mean, you'd want to like change the math so that the flag is, horizontal instead of vertical. But yeah, most of these things, it's mostly self-contained. Like if, I showed you before where the flag node, there's all the code down here where it's, this is actually doing the physics of it. Update spring point, blah, blah, blah. But then there's draw code here somewhere too. Steps. So yeah, this is all like the simulation code, basically, stepping the thing. And then here's the draw code. So when it's drawing a flag, basically it's just taking all these points and, oh yeah, it's like rendering a shadow. And then here's the beauty pass, which is, just like the visible part. So this is showing like how to take all those points that it's simulating and then just like pass them to the graphics engine and have it draw that flag shape. So you could totally just add this code to Spaz and draw a flag onto him or whatever, or give him some like long flowing like Fabio hair or whatever. Do it. Can you also tell me about the console? Like the login issue? Or are you talking about the like Google Play game name not updating? Is that the login issue you're talking about? But yeah, in the meantime, yeah, I do. My assumption is like when 2.0 comes out, it'll probably get a significant bump in players because adding Steam and iOS will be a pretty big thing. Like you can, I mean, it should be you never know. It might not be, but hopefully. Like it's kind of interesting to see, looking at like what cities people are playing in right now. Like the U.S. is actually pretty sparse. There's not like a ton of people in the U.S., especially compared to like South America and it's a little bit light right now. It's kind of the middle of day on a Wednesday, but I'm expecting part of this is just because like in the U.S. is kind of odd in that there's more iPhones than Android. Like most of the world is mostly Android. A lot of places it's like 20% iPhone and 80% Android or something like that. The US, it's like 55 or 60% iPhone and like 40% Android. So when 2.0 comes out and it gets launched on iPhone, I'm expecting like, at least in the US, probably more green dots here. Other countries too maybe or whatever. But yeah, it'll just be more accessible to people. Or Steam people. There's a lot of Steam people. So yeah, I would expect it to get a bump at that point. But I'm kind of, enjoying keeping it a little bit under the radar too, just because then I can work on it and not be flooded with support requests and things like that as much. Oh, submarine! We had a submarine. I wasn't even paying attention. Oh, geez, where's any good submarines? Yeah, there's a few submarines out here. There's one just south of India, west of Africa. There's some of these, they aren't submarines, but it's just like I always feel bad when these players that it's like right next to a server, but for some reason it is connecting to like a server over here. Or like this guy, he's connecting to like the eastern US when he could be talking to one of these servers. So I think that's probably just like a failure of my code to like ping the closest server effectively. But yeah, this guy over here, he's like, I guess maybe this isn't as bad as it looks because there's somebody, it looks like I can't tell where they're playing. They're either playing over here and connecting to a server over here or vice versa. But sometimes it's misleading because, like, it's actually on the globe. Maybe these spots aren't actually that far apart. So, but on the map, it looks like they are, because it's like all the way across the map. But if you look at the globe, it might actually just be like, oh, that's actually kind of close. But anyway, yeah, there's a few submarines out right now. Oh, from Chile. Okay, cool. There is, yeah, I've started to get more maps like down in South America. I believe Santiago. I think there's. I want to say. Where is it? Oh yeah, Santiago. There we go. So yeah, we got. There's one, yeah, some servers in Santiago. Still waiting on a few more. There's one for the South America people. There's another server that will be popping up right there. It's still, I think, still waiting on that. Let me check AWS. Yeah, nope, it's still green, coming soon. So, yeah, I'll be getting one there, and yeah, there's a few more other ones that'll be nice to have. Kind of a few more in Africa. There's not a ton of players in Africa, but it'll be nicer to kind of like fill out the space a little bit more. But whenever these things go purple, I will flip them on. That map is of everyone who is connecting to my V2 master server. So it's like it's technically the map of all cities where somebody is connecting to. So if there's like a bunch of people in the same city, it'll still just be one dot. But yeah, that's everyone. Whoops. That's everyone who has a V2 account that's connected right now. So that's all the green dots are V2 accounts, and the purple dots are locations where I'm hosting stuff. So like if you play, right now that's mostly things like if you play like a private party, it will host on like the nearest purple dot. That's what these little green lines are. Like for everyone, it tries to find like the nearest purple dot. And so this is kind of like my way of debugging that, just to make sure that people are connecting to like the closest server. And that's all based on ping. It's not like calculating distance or anything. So like if you're running the game and it launches the game here, it will like ping like that server and that server and that server and that server, and it tries to just like use whichever one has like the lowest ping, which should geographically be the closest server, but not always. I mean, some of that could explain like why sometimes there is these weird connections across the world. Is like maybe the local one just like returned an abnormally long ping, and so it's like using the some faraway one. But yeah, these pink purple points, these are AWS locations, Amazon Web Services. So this is where I can host servers basically. So yeah, so I'm trying to like over time. That's what I was showing you a second ago. This is local zones that Amazon is providing. So these are like extra little local locations where you can host servers. So I'm trying to, I'm adding, whenever Amazon makes one of these available, I try to add that to my system so that I can host servers there. So I plan to, whenever these green dots go purple, I will add them on my stuff. And I'm sure Amazon will keep adding more and more. So the world will keep hopefully filling with more purple dots. Of course, there's, unfortunately some big empty areas here for various reasons, geopolitical stuff and all that. So I'd love to get some dots up in here at some point, but well, yeah, I'll have to figure out how to pull that off. I know it's tricky, like in China and stuff. Like you basically have to work with like a company that is based in China for legal reasons and stuff. So like I would have to figure something out there. But yeah, I'd love to I'd love to make it available to anyone who wants to play. So doing what I can. Can you check this? What is it? Did I miss something there, or was that just the explodinary logo thing? I took Spanish in school, so I can somewhat speak Spanish. Not especially well though. But the Earth. As bit of trivia, actually, so I am doing a little bit of like fancy Earth map calculation stuff. So when it launches a game, like my master server will send the game it will send it a list of like five pink dot locations. Like, hey, try these five pink dots. And so to figure that out, I do have to like calculate like how far servers are from each other. And so I am in that case, I am just using like a 3D. I'm calculating it based on the globe. So I'm actually calculating just like 3D distance between two locations, which is not exactly accurate because on the globe you have to like go around the surface of the globe, of course. And it's based on like wherever like internet cables are running on across oceans and things like that. But whenever I'm doing like a rough calculation of like finding the five closest pink dots, like I'm actually just like taking the 3D distance. So it's, high school math comes in handy sometimes. Oh, he talked about the console issue there. Oh, was that the issue where like the console is disconnecting or not reconnecting? Method of creating public server. Yeah, it's that this is also basically another reason that I'm trying to move towards the squad system, which will all be run on my own servers. That's the whole like purple dot thing. Um, as I said, right now, if you host a private party, it will host on my servers. And so then you don't have to worry about trying to open a port and stuff like that. The downside of that right now is that you can't use mods and things like that on public servers. I'm working to fix that. Like I'm working on like a sandbox system to where like I can run anybody's Python code on my own servers and hopefully it'll be safe. So the end goal is that servers should all be running on my own. Most people will be playing on my servers because I can just provide servers everywhere, and there's no port issues, and they'll be in good locations with good internet connections. I know a lot of people will try to like host a game on their phone over Wi-Fi or something like that, and like even if you do get that working, it's going to be a bad experience for anyone who like tries to connect over the internet or something. So I'm sure that's stuff like that might be leading to complaints of lag and stuff like that. Just like bad situations where it's not going to be realistic to host a lag-free game. Um, so yeah, I hope that answers your question. Is like the end goal is to yeah to have port issues not be a problem for most people. It'll just be like if you have mods, they'll be in like a workspace, and then you'll press a button, just like host a game with this mod, or from the game you'll access a list of mods or something like that. So yeah. Okay, yeah, that's great to hear. So yeah, great to hear the Santiago server is mostly lag free for you, or not laggy, or less laggy than it could be. I know the game itself is not great at handling lag. It uses too much bandwidth, and there's no client prediction yet. So like it's not. If you have a good connection to a nearby server, it plays well. But if you don't, it could be better. So hopefully, I'm hoping to get client prediction in like Scene V2 or one of the upcoming things. But yeah, but for now, the best option is to be close to a server. Okay, so yeah, not reconnecting. Yeah, I will have to. Did you say are you you're running a PC or Linux or Mac version or something where you can like set? I can give you some like environment variables to set to like help debugging stuff like disconnects. Oh, theme of creating public servers. Oh, like for the port issue. Yeah, I mean, for right now, like for creating a public server on your own, like unfortunately, yeah, you're kind of on your own with the port stuff. I mean, I know that's not possible for everyone to like open ports, but yeah, I don't. There's kind of hacky ways that I could sort of work around it. Like there are ways you can make two things like negotiate to where they can kind of go through a router. But it sounds like it's kind of tricky, and I don't think it's something I can really invest a lot of time in to make that work. So unfortunately, the best option is just to see if you can get ports open for now, and until everything's kind of transitions to the running on my own servers with the squads mode. Oh, okay. So you're running Linux BS version 1.7. Okay, cool. I will try to. I'll try to post in office hours after this. There's a environment variable you can set, which will then debug. It'll show like debug messages for like the background connection. And so I'm really curious to see like when you have it where it won't reconnect. Like I'm curious to see what your background log looks like. So I'll remind me if I forget. But after this is done, I will send you that variable. 1721. Okay. Yeah, that should. That's kind of a foundational thing. Like, that's basically, again, on this map. When the game launches, the first thing it does is it tries to establish a connection to one of these servers. That's kind of represented by this green line. So that means the game should always be able to talk to one of these servers. And if stuff like the code console stops working, that means like this connection has gone down or it's not reconnecting or something. So I definitely want to fix that. Because a whole lot of stuff like squads mode is going to rely on there always being this connection. Like it'll rely on the fact that like I can always contact a V2 player like directly, like immediately, which is it's a tricky thing to get working. But I want it to I need that code to be like bulletproof. So yeah. So again, I'll send you some debugging stuff. So yeah, fire away with one more question. I'll have to. It's noon, so I'll have to spin down here soon. But yeah, if you have any more, anyone with questions, fire away. Yeah, this is like the joke, the green dot in the middle of the ocean. We just call those like submarine players. We're like, what the heck is it? Is it somebody on a boat, on a submarine, a little island? Like, who is out in the middle of the ocean playing the game? Or is it just, like the IP location tracking is just giving me the wrong location? I'm basing those dots on whenever your game connects to the master server the first time, it has ways to just like guess where you are in the world based off your IP address, and so then it just maps that. So I'm not doing anything shady like using GPS on your phone or anything like that to see where you are. This is just like where your IP address tells me you are. So it could be completely like totally wrong, but it's certainly not like tracking it down to like exact like your neighborhood or your house or anything like that. It's just like the city usually. Well, there's a lot of that is a lot of questions. Oh, it's okay. I think you can. So, I mean, basically, it's as I mentioned. There's these nodes. There's a few different layers to the thing. I can't get into too much detail now, but there's these low-level like nodes that form a scene. So a node is like a prop node or a spaz node or a flag node or whatever we want to make into a node, and those nodes basically are sitting on top of a rigid body simulation. So it's using a very old simulator actually called Open Dynamics Engine, or ODE. You'll see all the source code to that is under source, external, Open Dynamic Engine -EF, because this is kind of like my custom hacked version of it. So it's a rigid body simulator. And so everything is made out of rigid bodies like spheres and things like that. So you'll see that the spaz node, the prop node, all of those are creating rigid bodies. And then all of those nodes just, as I said before, they expose attributes and stuff that you can access on Python. So on the Python layer, you'd be like, hey, create a prop node, create a spaz node, set the position attribute. And so that's kind of how it communicates down to the node, which then communicates down to the Open Dynamics engine, the So it's the basic architecture. I mean, I'm not sure if you're, you just got to kind of play with it and see how to wrangle stuff. There's different things like textures and stuff, which are different types of nodes. Like, well, a texture isn't actually a node, but it should be. In the next version, it probably will be a node. There'll just be like a texture node. But yeah, the whole C++ part is basically scenes and nodes, like these little node objects. And then the Python part is actors and activities and higher level things that are built on top of that. So yeah, I can't go into too much detail now. There's some documentation for that kind of stuff. To a degree, you just got to kind of hack around with it. But yeah, if maybe we can go into more detail next time, or also the upcoming versions. Like I'm going to be working on like Scene version 2, which is kind of like a revamped version of all this stuff. Now that it's split out, that was a big part of 1.7.20 is splitting all this stuff out. So you'll see that if you come into all these places, like taking a look at BA data, Python, yeah, you'll see like all this stuff is split out to where there's like BA Scene version 1. So this is basically the existing gameplay. There will be a BA Scene version 2, which is kind of a cleaned up, revamped version at some point. That might come out as part of squads mode. We'll see. But yeah, that'll be kind of, I'll probably be going into more detail about low level stuff as I'm writing that, because it'll be a little bit different. Like I said, there might be like textures will be nodes instead of like different independent things like they are in Scene version 1. But again, that's all complicated stuff I shouldn't get into right now, since we're just about out of time. Doesn't have much to do with subject, but you are. Do I like wine? Oh yeah, I love wine. Yeah, wine is. I mean, I like a good beer sometimes, but yeah, I enjoy wine. Most all types of wine. Maybe not always very sweet wines, but yeah. Is there any doc there other than? I mean, there might be some docs there. There's a few on the wiki. There's some on my old blog. You can get to that from the wiki page. Just look for like my old blog. I think there's not really documentation on like the low level C++ stuff. But again, I'd like to add more documentation as I like rewrite it and clean it up, like for BA Scene v2. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more easier to understand, or at least more docs for it. Anyway, so yeah, Bomb Squad 10.0. Oh my gosh. Just got to get to 2.0. That is my life goal right now. I'll have to come up with a new life goal after I get to 2.0. But yeah. I mean, I don't plan to stop working on Bomb Squad. It'll just be like where to go with it next. Like, what is 3.0 going to be? But I have no idea at the moment. Oh yeah, the Sphinx docs. I believe you did. It'd be cool to like see what we can wire up with Sphinx. Yeah, like the PDoc stuff is cool, but yeah, Sphinx might give us more control. Like it seems like all the big things use Sphinx, so that might be a good direction to go. I haven't had time to like look into that too much myself. As far as docs, I fixed some of the PDoc stuff and got that like working again when I after I broke everything with 1.7.20. But I'd love like there's like a make docs target right now. If you come in and make docs or what? Oh yeah, there's like make docs pdoc, and I think make docs just runs that. So it'd be great like we could make docs Sphinx or something, get that working at least to start like iterating on what could come out of that. Couldn't hurt. So yeah, if you want to tinker on that, or if you have any time, I could tinker at some point. But yeah, that's one of those things where it's not really on my priority to-do list. Oh yeah, destructible terrain. Yeah, that's still like I still would like to do destructible terrain and more interactive environments and things like that. I'm basically holding off on that for I want to have client prediction, because I think that'll make a big difference for destructible terrain, just for technical reasons. But I do have pretty specific plans for how client prediction can work, so I'm hoping to get that in there at some point soon. And once that's in there, I think that'll open up a lot of possibilities for things like destructible terrain. So yeah, so stay tuned. But that would be super cool, like have bridges you can blow up that like regenerate or something, or like a little rope you could swing across, or I don't know, just like have fun with stuff. So So much to do, so little time. So on that note, unless I missed something, I think I will call it a day for now. Like, it's been a good little Q&A session we've had. So I'm going to get back to coding. I'll answer a few of those questions in chat, and I'll get this uploading so that it'll be on YouTube tomorrow morning my time. So 9 a.m. California time usually, or 8 a.m. And I am recording, thank goodness. I had a moment of like freak out, like, oh, did I record? So I am. Whew. So anyway, everyone, it's been fun. Black is typing. What is? Our grandchildren will enjoy Bomb Squad 3.0, you know, in the year 2135. So, cool. Well, everybody, coffee power up makes you more speedy and faster. It's funny, there was a speed power up. This is kind of a bit of trivia. The original game had a speed power up in it, and it was like, I think the icon is still in there. It's like a pair of shoes with like a green and purple icon on it or something, but it looked like the Mountain Dew icon. Or it looked like, it reminded people of Mountain Dew, which is, if you don't know, a Mountain Dew is a very sugary soda with a lot of caffeine that sort of, it sort of makes sense that it would make you faster. So everyone just called it like the Mountain Dew power up. Like, oh, I got some Mountain Dew. Yeah, I'm faster. So it kind of reminded me of that, just like a coffee power up that just makes you faster. So anywho, all right. Well, I'll still be around for chatting offline, but gonna sign off for now. So been fun, everyone, and everyone have a good week. If you think of any like game, we should get some gameplay going next week. So if anyone wants to show mod updates or anything like that, or if you know of any fun mods, just throw out a suggestion. So otherwise, everyone have a good week, and I'll talk to you all next week. So peace out.